Good evening. I'm Gary Ferguson, the founder of Pathways for Veterans. I'll be hosting this evening's event. With me is my very special guest, Debbie DiManno, with Core Training. Good morning.
Thanks for having me, Gary. So we're going to talk about Pathways for Veterans.
Why don't we get started and start off with a short video.
If I was to sum it up to two words would be life-altering. My whole life has been changed by this place. It's changed.
Tell us a little bit more.
It's changed my family. It's changed everything. Before I met this, I was recycling cans, stripping wire out of houses, doing whatever I can to make ends meet for my family, and I didn't have a chance. Didn't have anybody willing to give me a chance. I came across Lath. I came across you. I came across, the whole VA. Years later after being in the military, and it's just, man, it's altering. Everything's changed. Instead of getting a hand out, I got a hand up, So, less than a year ago, I had a gun in my mouth on that water over there, getting ready to just pass on any benefits I had to my wife. And I met you guys, and it literally changed everything.
So I understand you're getting ready to move?
Yeah, actually, I'm in the process. I just got a 3-bedroom place. I would have never, an actual house. I've never had or rented or a house ever. Never.
Did you ever see that as a possibility before this program?
No, I thought I was going to be in a 1-bedroom shanty for the rest of my life.
I understand also that you're expecting a child.
Yeah, this will be my second daughter. She's going to be a Christmas baby. So,
wow.
Yeah.
You said something the other day that really struck me when you said, tell us a little bit about the house you're moving into.
It's the first time I've ever had, we did it all on our own. We didn't get no help from anybody. We didn't do little shimmy shakes, to get the property. We got it on our own, all legit. Like, we signed the agreement, we ran our background, we did it all ourselves. And it's like I got my life back.
Would that have been possible before this program?
No. Where I was going was a dark, dark place before this place.
What does it look like, the future look like for your child?
She's going to have a future. She's not going to be, raised in some little place. She's not going to go to some bad school. She's not going to, in a matter of a year, everything's changed for me, my family, and my daughters. I found out my daughter gets to go to, my first daughter gets to go to college, paid, and it was just coming here, just meeting new people.
I understand also that your daughter will have her own room.
Yeah, she moved in. We got her stuff in last night, and I've never seen a kid so happy in her life. She's had to have been bunked up with people forever, and now she's got her own bed, her own room, or everything. It's not huge, it's not a mansion, it's not that, but you get used to living one way so long, and then you get something like this. To see a little girl smile like that, it's just hard, Once I got my situation straight with my life, I realized it freed me up so much more to do stuff for others. And honestly, these are the only guys that really accept us, us as veterans. They understand. They've been there. They've seen it. You go to talk to a regular person, they don't know. I was actually the first graduate here at the school. I did it in half the time. And they put me in through another program. I'm actually completing that in half the time. And now they're taking me to get my bachelor's degree at Expressions College in Emeryville for graphic design.
Now, I'm assuming you're referring to the VA?
Yes, the VA is 100% backing me on this.
Well, Debbie, that was our first student, and he was our first graduate, Matthew Martin.
So tell me about that. That's an intense video.
It's what kind of got me started, and is also what's kept me in the conversation helping veterans since I retired. When I retired from a very successful career in business, and I went back to the VA to apply for my benefits, and I saw how many young men and women were going to the VA and how broken they were, it was not possible for me to retire. having had a very successful career in civilian life after my service in the military, to see these young kids and missing arms and legs and broken with emotional trauma that was beyond repair, I decided to do something about it. So we started Pathways for Veterans, and Matthew was our first graduate. Since then, hundreds of veterans have gone through the program at Pathways for Veterans. We've established a curriculum for living. It's very similar to what you do at core training, and that's quite honestly why Pathways reached out to you and asked you to run the family division. Because the training that you provide kids is basically the same type of training that we provide our returning veterans. Most of these kids go in the military, they volunteer, and they're kids themselves. So they go into the military, and during their service, they never really have an opportunity to have some of the experiences, if you will, that kids their age that are not in the military have. So with that, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about how you see fitting in with core training now that you're part of Pathways and also the director of the family division at Pathways.
Yeah, so core training came about as a result of your work, essentially, and the fact that you're helping us, you're fiscally sponsoring us, means the world to us. And I got into this whole area of training kids because of my experience with my own kids and their issues around bullying and stress and all of the things that show up in the years of kids being in high school. So I think probably the easiest way to tell other people about core training is to play a little video. It's a little intro that we share with the parents so they understand what we're doing at core training.
Oh, great. Let's look at that. When I first learned about core training through a friend of ours, Yuli Rodriguez, that kind of rang a couple of real important bells for me, because working with veterans, what I found was that one of their biggest challenges is how to communicate with their kids and their spouse. And what we realized early on in the Pathways program, that if somehow we could have a family program that would support the veteran while they were going through our program, that we could develop a source of trust, if you will, within the family unit. And so as we got more familiar with the work you do and the experiences that family members of veterans had going through some of your training, I realized that to integrate the Pathways possibility along with the parents and the kids was going to not only accelerate their experience, but they would really be more actively involved. So you could tell me a little bit about whatever possessed you after a very successful career in the medical field to take this challenge on.
Yeah, well, so I had my own wake up, if you will. I had a lot of health issues. I had a lot of stress in my own life. And so as a result of that, I had to do a lot of internal work, and I had to not only use Western medicine to heal myself, but I had to use alternative techniques to help heal myself because of my own stress in my own life. And so a lot of the techniques that we use for the kids are those that I have used myself. And in fact, my daughter was using some of them too. So we call it toolkits for life. And in these toolkits, we teach techniques like tapping. I don't know if you've heard of tapping.
Oh, yeah.
Or EFT, it's called. We also teach breath work and heart math, which is it's actually an old technique, but it's really been revised and simplified for people to use. My background is in exercise physiology, so I do a lot of work with the kids around nutrition, hydration, sleep protocols, and we also do a new piece on screen time for kids with the iPhones and everything that's going on with the media right now. So, so those are just a few of the things that we have in the toolkits for life. But recently, what we have come up against is this very big issue around suicide. I don't know if you know this, but the statistics in the United States of America are that that more than 3,000 kids per day are attempting suicide.
Wow.
And so what we've realized is that we cannot just train the kids anymore, that we had to bring a parent component in to our instruction. And so in our last workshop, we brought the kids and the parents together. And what we did is we created just that thing that you're talking about, which is the communication. And I know you know that parents and teenagers have never had much in the way of communication. But we saw it in broad daylight with the parents and the kids. A lot of the work that we do is not necessarily, giving PowerPoints, but it's experiential. So we see the kids having conversations with their parents about screen time, believe it or not, and about the issues they're having in their homes. And we just have had amazing feedback from both the kids and the parents. They come back day 2 and tell us about what happened in the kitchen in the morning and the conversation that they actually had together and how things flow so much better for them. So, so we're super excited about these courses, and we're implementing and creating better curriculum every time we do it. And so we have upcoming workshops that are coming up in the fall. Most of our workshops right now are in the Sacramento area. We hold them at Folsom Lake College, and they're 2-day workshops. But we are also expanding our reach. We're potentially having a program up in Boise, Idaho, in the August timeframe, and then we also have someone who has expressed interest for us in Utah.
Wow.
So we're really expanding our reach, and we're super excited, and we're hoping that we can train the trainer and train other groups around the country, so that it's not just our core group training these kids.
Right. Well, we're looking forward to sponsoring the ones coming up in the fall through scholarships. So one of the things that we're actively pursuing at Pathways is to create a scholarship opportunity for veterans, for their kids to go and go through this core training in conjunction with what they're doing at Pathways for Veterans. As you know, our pilot study programs that last now 6 to 8 weeks, depending upon the applicants and their schedules. But primarily we provide a 6 to 8 week pilot study type program that not only introduces the work that you do, but the work that we've been doing. So it gives them an opportunity to learn how to reconnect, and we give them the skills. 90% of all of our programs are offered currently online at no charge to veterans. And so what we're looking forward to is combining the 2 curriculums for living, if you will. One of the things that seems to be pretty much every conversation I have, particularly with the male veterans, is that they've lost the ability to communicate with their spouse and their kids. And the biggest fear that they have is that they will do harm to their children because they lost the ability to connect. So in order to protect them, they remain silent. And of course, the kids don't know that.
Yeah.
The spouse doesn't know that.
Yeah.
They wonder what's wrong with their dad or their husband. So do you see the way, see how this coming together of consciousness, if you will, could help our veteran
Yeah.
families?
Yeah. You know, a lot of what's going on with our youth is around, you know, social media and the phones. And we imagined, I think, that what we thought was that our phones and texting and all the things that we do were going to enhance our level of communication. And in fact, it's done just the opposite. It has alienated our kids. It has alienated them from their friends, from their families. And so you topple what's going on with our teens just in general right now, what we call the I generation.
Right.
And you couple that with veterans who are coming home and trying to reconnect. You can imagine it's fairly disastrous in many of those households. And so it really is taking a family to come together and to be vulnerable and to talk about all of the issues. And we allow a safe place for them to do that.
Right. And that's primarily the whole focus of Pathways, is to create a safe environment where veterans can have an experience of being heard. And what we realized is that in conversation, if you will, for someone to have the experience of being heard, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually in a conversation.
Right.
And that was the biggest thing for veterans to discover, was that they don't have to fix it. All they have to do is listen and acknowledge their children or their spouse. You know, we as veterans, we have a tendency to want to fix it, especially the male energy.
Yes.
And sometimes the female energy and children, they don't want to fix anything. They just want to be heard.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest disconnect that most veterans tell me, the male energy of veterans, if you will,
Yeah.
is that they have a hard time communicating. They want to, but they just don't know how. So I think the toolkit you described, could you tell us a little bit more in detail of some of the exercises that you do to support this?
Yeah, so we've gotten a lot of feedback from the kids. In fact, every time we do a workshop, we take in all of the feedback that we get, and it's a wide range of information that we get back, but mostly they feel like they don't want to be in school. You know, they don't want us to lecture them and tell them things. They want to have experiences. So we do fun things like drum circles. They do art. They do yoga. We have journaling time. We have grounding time. We do all of it in the way that is almost like a camp. So the plan is then that at the end of the 2 days, the parents and the kids all come together, and we have created videos, something that they've created all together, and at the end they can see the experience that they've had over the 2 day, the course of the 2 day program. And then the cool part about it, I forgot to add this, is that we have what's called scaffolding. So the teens that come in to learn, they come back for the next workshop and the next workshop, and then they become trainers and help us to educate the other kids. And the kids love being trained by the other students, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the Train the Trainer program has been very successful at Pathways as well. A lot of the veterans that have gone through the program continue to be part of what we're doing at Pathways, and they're constantly emailing me and sending me links to different modalities that they're trying. I think for the most part, what I find most rewarding of the work that I do is that my job is to give them access to the information and give them a timeout so that they can process the information, and we don't judge, we don't have opinions, we just listen, okay? So one of the things that I'd like to talk a little bit about is to maybe go to another video, because I'd like to talk a little bit about how we've kind of wrapped up the body of work at Pathways. So with that, if we could cue up the next video. I think most veterans that I know went into the service because they wanted to help other people. They don't have a way to communicate with their spouse and with the kids. They don't have purpose. And a man without purpose and without a job, he's got a problem.
Recover from this seemingly hopeless state of mind and body, and it doesn't last very long, even when they go to church, because there's something still missing.
Other veterans intuitively know how to have the other one's back. They know when to listen and they know when to speak. They create the experience for themselves because they speak it. Start to experience this sense of relief. We all have the experience of bravery. We all have the experience of camaraderie, loyalty, pride, spirituality. When you tap into your inner child, you'll have an opportunity to find out who you really are. Not the story, but who you really are, the authentic you. You will no longer be reacting to life. You'll be creating life. And if you do it through the service of others, it'll be an extraordinary way. That, I promise you, and every day will be a good day to die. First off, I'd like to thank you, Debbie, and your husband, Michael DiManno, for making A Good Day to Die possible. Had you not encouraged me to write this book and to share the stories of not only my military experience, but also the stories of my work with veterans, we wouldn't be here today. The fact that you encouraged me to walk through those dark years, not only in my early years before my service, but during my service, and after my service, allowed me the experience to find freedom. And so thanks to you and your husband, we now have an opportunity for not only providing access to A Good Day to Die to veterans and their families, that they can learn how to talk and communicate, but they can actually get firsthand look at what it was like from a veteran's point of view. All of the tools and techniques that you use to support the children, we've been using at Pathways, primarily because those are the tools that I had to use in order for me to deal with my own trauma from my war experience. I had to go through all of the steps that you refer to over and over again until one day they no longer had the power to run my life. So actually I'm here today as a free man. And I spent a lot of time fighting for my country in Vietnam. And then I spent most of my life fighting to survive. Now I've learned how to thrive. And it was a result of A Good Day to Die and the lessons that I've learned. So the purpose of us coming together in a collaborative sense, if you will, is for us to take this information and put it in a package, if you will, that others can pick up and learn from and start supporting one another so that we're no longer in competition, but we're in collaboration with what's happening. So with that, I'd like to ask you what your experience has been having read A Good Day to Die.
Yeah. Well, honestly, it was our honor to do this work with you, and I think you mentioned in the book that I was your worthy coach, because we walked through this book with you for at least a year and a half, if not 2 years, and I've learned a lot about Vietnam and war, and all the things that we shouldn't do. But I mostly have learned how to be a good steward on this planet and to serve. And I think that's what we're both here to do. And that's why the book was written, so that we can serve everyone who is suffering out there. Mm-hmm. And that we're gonna do this together.
Well, for me, speaking on behalf of veterans, because the feedback that I've been getting since the book is being reviewed, and for those that are interested, they can go to Pathways for Veterans and get a free copy of the book. But what we found is that through the process of sharing our story, we get freedom from the pain of our past. And then once we let it go, we find that it's easy to help others. So for me, I have an extraordinary life because I'm willing to serve others. And I no longer have this illusion of self or self-interest. So I'm the luckiest man in the world, not only to have you and Michael in my life, but the thousands of veterans that have come and gone, both in service and out of the service, that shared their stories with me at Pathways for Veterans, because it truly is a good day to die.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.